Marcus made $340 tonight. 40 minutes of work, snaking a clogged pipe out of someone's basement at 11 at night. 2 miles away, a guy who codes for a living got an email today that started with, "We've made the difficult decision." One of these two people should be nervous about his job right now. It's not the plumber. For 20 years, the advice was the same. Get a degree, get a desk, get a job that doesn't involve getting your hands dirty. That was the safe path. That was the smart path. Right now, in the middle of 2026, that advice is quietly getting flipped upside down, and almost nobody's saying it out loud because it sounds insane. Learn a trade instead of coding. Sounds like something your uncle says at Thanksgiving. Except this time, the data agrees with your uncle. I'm not here to tell you AI is fake or that it's overhyped or any of that. It's real, it's fast, and it's already cutting jobs. Tech layoffs alone hit close to 80,000 people in the first 3 months of this year. What I want to show you is narrower and, honestly, weirder. Why the jobs everyone was told to avoid, the ones that sound unglamorous, physical, a little beneath you if you went to college, are turning out to be the hardest ones for a machine to touch. Not because they're simple, because they're messy. Let's go back to Marcus for a second, because his job is the whole argument in miniature. When he gets a call, he doesn't know what he's walking into. Maybe it's a simple clog. Maybe the last plumber patched it wrong 8 years ago, and there's a surprise waiting behind the wall. Maybe the house was built in 1974, and the pipes don't match anything in a manual. He has to crawl into a space that wasn't designed for a human, in a position nobody planned for, and make a judgment call with his hands in real time, based on what he feels, not what he can look up. That's the part that's hard to fake. Software is extraordinary at pattern recognition when the patterns hold still. Text, images, code, spreadsheets. The physical world does not hold still. Every basement is a little different. Every wall was built by a slightly different guy on a slightly different Tuesday 30 years ago. Robotics researchers have a name for this. They call it Moravec's paradox. The strange fact that the things humans find hardest, like advanced math or writing an essay, turned out to be easy for machines, and the things a 5-year-old does without thinking, like walking across a cluttered room or figuring out how to grip a wet, oddly shaped pipe fitting, turned out to be brutally hard to automate. We built machines that can write poetry before we built one that can reliably fold laundry. Here's the second piece, and it's less about what a machine can do and more about what we'll let it do. Think about who actually touches your body, your house's wiring, or your kid. An electrician who's licensed and bonded. A home health aide who shows up when your grandmother falls. A line cook who has to know by smell half the time whether something's gone bad. Even if an AI system could technically handle parts of these jobs, and in narrow cases it already can, there's a wall of licensing, insurance, liability, and plain human trust standing in front of full automation. Nobody wants to be the test case for the robot messed up my gas line. Jeffrey Hinton, one of the researchers most responsible for the AI boom in the first place, has said plainly this year that he expects the technology to keep eating into jobs. But even he frames the early, easy targets as call centers and repetitive digital tasks, not hands-on, liability-heavy physical work. That's not an accident. That's the order of difficulty. Now flip it around, because this is the part that should actually worry you if you're 22 and just graduated. The jobs under the most pressure right now aren't the messy ones. They're the clean ones. Entry-level research, first draft writing, junior coding tasks, basic financial analysis. The kind of work that's mostly reading, summarizing, and producing a document, which happens to be exactly what large language models are best at. Goldman Sachs put out research this year projecting that AI-driven job displacement could push unemployment up by several tenths of a percentage point through the rest of 2026, concentrated in exactly these industries. One tech executive went further, predicting that new graduate unemployment specifically could climb toward 30% in the years ahead, driven almost entirely by automation eating the first rung of the career ladder. The internships, the junior analyst seats, the entry-level coding tickets that used to be how you got your foot in the door. Think about what that actually means. It's not that white-collar work disappears. It's that the bottom of it does. The easy, repetitive, supervised tasks that used to be how a 22-year-old proved themselves and learned the job. Take that rung away, and the ladder gets a lot harder to climb, even for people who did everything they were told to do. So back to Marcus. He didn't go to college. For a long time, that was treated like a mark against him. The assumption was he'd chosen the harder, lower status path. Nobody's parents were bragging about their son, the plumber, at dinner parties the way they'd brag about their daughter, the software engineer. But look at what he actually has that's hard to replace. He's licensed, which means someone has to be legally accountable for his work. He's physically present, which means he can respond to a problem nobody predicted. And he's doing something almost nobody wants to learn to do themselves, which means demand doesn't evaporate just because the economy gets weird. Electricians, HVAC techs, plumbers, appliance repair, elder care, these fields are already short on workers in a lot of places before you even bring AI into the conversation. That shortage doesn't get easier to close if a whole generation keeps chasing the desk job that's currently the one under pressure. Here's the twist I actually want you to sit with because it's not what it sounds like on the surface. This isn't a video telling you to drop out and become a plumber. Plenty of trades are hard, physically brutal, and genuinely not for everyone. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. The real point is smaller and more useful than that. The line we've been drawing between safe and unsafe work has been wrong. We drew it between white-collar and blue-collar, between degree and no degree, between clean job and dirty job. The actual line, at least for the next several years, seems to run somewhere else entirely. Between work that's repeatable, remote, and document-based, and work that's physical, unpredictable, and requires someone to be legally and personally accountable in the room, right now. That line cuts through every industry, not around them. There are junior lawyers in the first category, and there are junior lawyers in the second. There are coders in the first category, and coders, the ones building and maintaining physical infrastructure, running on-site systems, in the second. So, if you're deciding what to study, what to train in, or where to point your career over the next few years, the useful question isn't, is this job boring or exciting? It's, does doing this job well require me to be physically present, legally accountable, and able to improvise in a messy situation nobody wrote a manual for? The more of those three boxes a job checks, the more insulated it is right now. Not forever, not permanently, but right now, while everyone else is still asking the wrong question. Marcus is probably snaking another pipe right now, and he has no idea this conversation about him is even happening. That's sort of the point. Nobody explains why the unglamorous jobs became the safe ones, because it's not a flattering story for anyone who spent 6 figures on a degree to avoid exactly this kind of work.